Hi. So, in a weird se- twist of serendipity, or whatever you want to call it, I just happened to go online on Craigslist, punch in a couple of keywords I was looking for, and found a guitar with a neck that I really like. So I have a neck for my guitar. Anyway, sitting here in my jammies. It's really, really cold out, so I'm not that motivated to get dressed yet until I have to go pick up my kids from school and then head off to work. But anyway, so I picked up this guitar. I saw it, and the first thing I noticed was it looks a lot like Ritchie Blackmore's Made in Japan Strat. So that of course piqued my interest. The neck has the larger headstock that I liked, so that's pretty cool. What happened was I checked on Craigslist. This guitar popped up, and it was right here in town. So I emailed the guy and said I'd like to come and take a look at it if it's still available. And he said, sure it is. He gave me his address and everything. And it was the tail end of Christmas vacation for the kids. My daughter was bored. She was, getting stir crazy, so she wanted to come with me. After a couple of times trying to set up a time to meet this guy to check out the guitar, we were finally able to set it up for an evening, and it had started to snow, and it was really kind of coming down. So I wasn't that keen on heading out, but I figured, it's just, the other side of town, so I'll drive over there. So me and my daughter go over there, and of course my wife is like, do you really need another guitar? And I'm like, yes. The answer is always yes. But anyway, so we drove over and found the address and everything. The guy forgot to tell me that it's apartment buildings, and he did not tell me his apartment number, of course. He didn't tell me it was apartments. I didn't have his last name or anything. So we're standing there in the snow, trying to figure out what's going on. Like, how do I find this guy? I have no clue. I don't even know what he looks. All I know is the first name and his phone number. And of course, I'm the last person in the world over the age of 10 that doesn't have a cell phone. So anyway, finally, I just kind of figured, well, you know what? I'm looking at the apartments. There's only a couple of apartments with lights on. So maybe if I just kind of buzz a couple and, see what happens, basically. Maybe I'll get lucky. It wasn't like a huge complex. There was like 12, apartments or whatever. And it looked like a bunch of them didn't even have lights on. So I figured my chances were good. The first one I beeped, it was an older lady. She came to the door and she's like, can I help you? And I explained the situation. She's like, oh, yeah. I explained, I don't know, the guy's maybe mid-30s or something. I don't know. She was nice enough to let me use her phone. I called the guy, and he let me in. So, it looked like we weren't going to even get to take a look at it, but then in the end we finally did, thanks to some lady in her phone. But anyway, so I took a look at it, and for the price that he wanted, I came up with, here's what I'd like to pay. Here's what I would be willing to pay if the guitar was nice enough, if the neck was nice enough. That was really all I was concerned with. And here's what he, had it listed as. So I took a look at it, said, okay, would you take blah, 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 and he counter-offered, and we ended up being a little more than what I was initially willing to pay, sight unseen, but less than what I would have paid. So, it came out all right. And the whole idea with this awesome ultimate guitar thing is to do it as cheaply as possible. So I ended up buying this for $160, and it turns out the pickups in it are supposed to be Fender Texas Special pickups. All kinds of upgrades on this thing. And the pickups go online used for like 30 or 40 bucks a piece. So, if I can get, say, $100 just for the pickups, then, I can throw in some pickups that I have, sell the pickups $100, throw in some pickups that I have, slap on a different neck because I want this neck, probably turn around and sell the whole guitar again, and actually probably get the neck for, negative money, probably actually make money on the whole deal. So get the neck for free and, end up with a few bucks for my, time and effort and whatever. So anyway, let's take a look at it. The first thing that I noticed, of course, was the neck was really nice. Then I noticed all the upgrades that were done. Upgrades that he told me about and upgrades that he didn't tell me about. He bought it used, so, it's not like he was hiding anything, I don't think. But anyway, we'll talk about the neck in the next video with, some of the upgrades and stuff. But obviously the pickups are upgraded. It has these switches. He had them set up to do something. Then he put in the Fender grease bucket tone control or whatever. I'm not totally sure what that is. I think it cuts out the tone when you turn it all the way up or something. But he didn't know how to wire up the switches, so the switches now are inoperable, these little toggles. But the whole guitar works. One thing I noticed was this whole situation is, to me, fairly ugly. We have like a yellowish pick guard. We have very light cream knobs. We have a dark cream switch on the pickup selector, and then the pickups are white. So basically, we have like all these variations of white and off-white and cream white and vintage, whatever you want to call it. None of them match anything. It's somewhat ugly, but whatever. The bridge has been upgraded, which is nice. He has it all blocked off, so he doesn't use the tremolo at all. But it's a big, solid steel block, which is nice. I may keep that. I have a lot of other bridges I'll throw in. It has the little Fender bridge, pieces, the little saddles that are sort of like the stamped, bent saddles. They say Fender right on them, so it's actual Fender. But the problem is, it's wider. And of course I pointed this out to him. So the high E string is right at the very, very, very edge of this neck. So if I press down, it pulls slightly, ever so slightly down, it falls right off the neck. So that's not good. And he has it set up so that the strings are sort of, you probably can't see it in the video, but they're all kind of slightly different distances apart. They're not all even. There's like these two, the A and the D are closer, which then makes the D and the G a little further apart. So I noticed that when I was playing it after I got it home, because for the price and everything, what are you going to do? Argue over every single little tidbit. But I definitely noticed it when I got home and played it a little bit. The pick, I'm like, I kept kind of feeling weird and not missing strings, but expecting a string to be somewhere and it's not. It's like a 32nd of an inch off or whatever is driving me up a wall. But anyway, the pickups actually don't quite line up with the strings because the string width, so things definitely, this bridge was, I would say, put on by an amateur. Another thing, he said he had this pick guard put on, and the edges of the pick guard are rough. They're not smoothed out. You can see where it was cut out. It's not terrible. It's certainly, usable. It's very nitpicky. But, clearly a somewhat inexpensive pick guard. It looks like the pick guard doesn't match the neck, so that's kind of weird. A big thing is, not only does he have the tremolo blocked, but the tremolo edge here, and I'm sure you can't see it, but what is happening is the edge is over the pick guard. So I would imagine even if I take out the piece of wood and try to use it, I can't push the tremolo down because it'll be hitting this pick guard. So, I don't know what's up with that. Has a cool strap on it. I know a lot of people like these DiMarzio straps. I don't, because the way I look at it, if something can come off, then it probably will at the worst possible time. I just like a plain old strap. I don't like all these, buckles and things and all that. Plain old strap, just bolted right on with a couple of washes. That way it's definitely never, ever going to come off. But anyway, other than that, it's a decent sounding guitar. It's actually a decent sounding guitar. If I was in the market to actually, keep just amassing, random cheap guitars, which I have no problem with cheap guitars, as you've seen in other videos. But if I was, up for just amassing, random cheap guitars, piling them up in my basement, I definitely would hang on to this. It's a nice sounding guitar. I think it's an older guitar. I believe it is Indonesian, from the serial number, Indonesian from the Court factory, for whatever that means. And I believe it's from '98, so it's almost a 20-year-old guitar. And, it sounds decent. The pickups are nice. They're not for me. They're way too bright and kind of brittle, twangy sounding. So that's the bridge. The neck. Not terrible sounding, but really not my thing. So anyway, that's the guitar. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. Yeah. So it's a pretty cool guitar. Definitely worth the $160, especially with the pickups that, I'll take the pick guard off, take a look and make sure, but they're decent sounding pickups at any rate. So when all is said and done, I'm pretty positive I can get rid of this guitar for what I paid for it and end up with a neck that I like. So the next video, we'll take a look at this next. The next video, take two. The next video, we'll take a look at this neck. Okay, so as you can see, I took the pick guard off, didn't desolder everything, but just flipped it over. And these pickups are definitely not the Fender Texas Special pickups. They are Fender. I did a quick Google search and everything, and on the bottom, the stamped number is 016730, and that seems to just be a standard part number for the plastic bobbin that it's wound up on. But, doing a quick image search for Fender Texas Special pickups, the bottoms, they don't look anything like this. So these are definitely cheaper pickups made by Fender still, but whatever. The Squier guitars made by Fender. So I wouldn't be at all shocked if these are just the stock pickups. So I don't know, if I'll contact the guy and, say, hey, dude, what's going on here? But these are definitely not the Texas Special pickups. It has the little grease bucket circuit. I did a quick search on that, and it just kind of changes the response of the tone control. I don't know if it makes it better or not. I don't know. I didn't like the sound of the pickups. I don't know if it was part of the circuitry or whatever. But anyway, so that's that. He said that, somebody wired this all up, and as you can probably maybe see, it's like a super, super bad wiring job. Big giant globs of solder, stuff just sort of bundled together. Some stuff just soldered like in midair, just two wires with a blob of solder stuck on them, just floating in midair. Whatever, burnt wires where you hit it with the side of the soldering iron or whatever, stuff like that. And then the pickguard is WD, which, I thought was decent. The edges, like I said, are a little bit rough. Nothing to complain about. I think the pick guards from WD are fairly inexpensive, so whatever, that's part of the price you pay. Whoever did this did kind of a lousy shielding job with a little bit of tinfoil, but then nothing shielded up here, so it's basically like shielding one side of it, but then nothing else is shielded, so it's actually not shielded. It's like just throwing a little bit of tinfoil into the pickup cavity for whatever. And of course the shielding's not attached to anything grounded, so it's literally just some tinfoil thrown in. But that's about it. It's a cool guitar. I still like the neck, and that was sort of the whole point. But anyway, just wanted to kind of wrap up the whole discussion about the pickups and all that. So there you have it. On to the neck.